Homelander didn't just beat Ryan in The Boys Season 5, Episode 3. He made a decision that proves something far more disturbing than simple rage. This wasn't a loss of control. This was control at its most terrifying. And once you truly understand why he did it, you'll realize this moment didn't just hurt Ryan, it locked in the trajectory of the entire story going forward. Before getting into the main gist, let's ground ourselves in what actually happened, because the details here matter more than people think. Ryan confronts Homelander, demanding the truth about what happened to his mother. This isn't just a tense emotional moment, it's a dangerous one. Ryan has abilities that make deception almost impossible to maintain around him. He can sense heartbeats, detect fear, and pick up on subtle changes that expose lies instantly. So when Homelander tries to manipulate the situation, like he always does, Ryan immediately knows something is off. That's when the power dynamic begins to shift. Ryan doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't retreat or get intimidated. Instead, he pushes harder. He questions Homelander directly. He escalates the confrontation. And then, in a moment that changes everything, he physically lashes out. At first, it looks like Homelander might de-escalate. There's a brief hesitation, a flicker of restraint, like he's considering whether to handle this as a father or as something else entirely. But then Ryan lands a punch, and for the first time in that moment, Homelander bleeds. That single detail is the turning point, because from that second onward, this is no longer about a father trying to control his son. This is about a god being reminded he can be hurt, and Homelander cannot tolerate that reality. Most viewers will look at this scene and say Homelander snapped, but that's not accurate, and understanding why is crucial. A snap implies a loss of control, an emotional outburst that happens without thought. But Homelander pauses, he hesitates. That hesitation is proof that what follows is not instinct, it's a decision. He processes what just happened. He feels the impact, not just physically, but psychologically. And then he chooses violence. Not to protect himself, because at that point, Ryan is not a real threat. Not to escape the situation, because he could have walked away. He chooses violence to reassert dominance, to remind Ryan and himself who is in control. At his core, Homelander is not driven by anger, he's driven by ego. Everything about him revolves around maintaining the illusion that he is untouchable, superior, and above everyone else. He doesn't just want power, he needs to feel absolute. And Ryan threatens that in a way no one else can, not because of strength alone, but because of what he represents. Ryan sees through him. He doesn't blindly admire him, he questions him. And worse, he exposes him. The moment Ryan realizes Homelander's lying about his mother, the entire foundation of Homelander's authority in that interaction collapses. He's no longer controlling the narrative. And for someone like Homelander, losing control of the narrative is more dangerous than losing a fight, because his identity depends on being seen a certain way. So when Ryan makes him bleed, it's not just physical damage, it's symbolic, it's humiliation. It's proof that Homelander is not perfect, not invincible, not beyond consequence. And in that moment, Ryan stops being just a disobedient son. He becomes a threat to Homelander's identity. Here's the brutal truth. Homelander didn't keep hitting Ryan because he had to. He kept hitting him because Ryan rejected him. That's what this scene is really about. Rejection. Ryan was supposed to be the one person who validated Homelander completely, the one person who would see him as a hero without question. That's why Homelander invested so much into their relationship, not out of genuine love, but out of a need for validation. Ryan was meant to reflect back the version of Homelander that he believes in, but instead, Ryan sees the truth and refuses to accept it. And when Homelander's faced with rejection, he doesn't process it, he destroys it. That's why the violence continues even after Ryan is no longer a threat. If this were self-defense, it would have ended the moment Ryan was overpowered, but it doesn't. Homelander throws him, pins him down, and keeps going. That's not survival, that's punishment. That's dominance. That's a message being sent. You don't get to challenge me. What makes this even darker is the fact that Ryan survives. On the surface, it might seem like luck or timing, especially with Billy Butcher arriving shortly after. But that explanation falls apart when you consider Homelander's abilities. He can hear heartbeats. He knows exactly how close someone is to death. So if Ryan is still alive, it's because Homelander allowed it. And this is where the scene becomes truly unsettling. Homelander didn't spare Ryan out of love. That version of him, the one seeking connection, is gone. What we're seeing now is someone who prioritizes control above everything else. And the broken Ryan is more useful than a dead one. Leaving him alive isn't mercy, it's strategy. Because a dead Ryan is a lost opportunity. But a broken Ryan, that's something Homelander can reshape, manipulate, and potentially reclaim later. It keeps the door open, it gives him leverage, and that makes the decision far more calculated than emotional. But in trying to break Ryan, Homelander may have made the biggest mistake of his life, because this moment doesn't just damage Ryan, it transforms him. Up until now, Ryan has been conflicted, torn between different influences, unsure of where he stands. But after this, there is no confusion left. Homelander didn't just hurt him physically, he destroyed whatever emotional connection remained. Now, Ryan doesn't see a father, he sees an enemy. And that shift changes everything, because Ryan isn't just another character in this story. He's potentially the only one capable of stopping Homelander. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. He has the raw power, the potential, the connection that allows him to understand Homelander in a way no one else can. But power alone isn't enough, and that's where things get dangerous. Ryan is still inexperienced, he's emotional, he's reacting, not thinking, and going up against someone like Homelander without control or strategy is a death sentence. That's where Butcher re-enters the equation. When Ryan's at his lowest, broken, barely holding on, Butcher is the one who finds him. And on the surface, that looks like rescue, like salvation. But it's not that simple, because Butcher is not a hero. He's been slowly becoming something much darker. His obsession with destroying Homelander has pushed him to the edge, and in many ways, he's starting to mirror the very person he hates. He's ruthless, willing to cross lines, willing to sacrifice anything to win. Even Ryan. He has already shown that he's willing to let Ryan die if it means taking Homelander down. So if Ryan chooses to align with him now, he's not choosing safety. He's choosing a different kind of danger, one that might be just as destructive in the long run. And that's what makes Ryan's situation so tragic. He's caught between two extremes, Homelander who wants to control him, and Butcher who might use him. Neither option offers clean path, neither offers real protection, and both risk turning Ryan into something he doesn't want to become. Which leads to the central question this episode sets up. Can Ryan defeat Homelander without becoming him? Because that's the real conflict here. Not just a physical battle, but a moral one, a psychological one, a question of identity. Homelander represents absolute control. Butcher represents absolute destruction. And Ryan stands in the middle, forced to choose what kind of person he's going to be. But after what happened in this episode, that choice just became much harder. Because trauma doesn't just disappear. It shapes people. It changes how they think, how they react, how they see the world. And being beaten by your own father, being left broken like that, creates something powerful. Anger, pain, the need for revenge. And revenge doesn't create heroes. It creates reflections. So when Ryan eventually faces Homelander again, and that confrontation is inevitable, it won't just be about stopping him. It'll be about who Ryan becomes in the process. Does he hold on to what makes him different, or does he cross the same line? Because the truth is, there is no version of this story where both of them walk away. One of them has to fall. And if Ryan hesitates, if he lets emotion control him instead of mastering it, he loses. But if he doesn't hesitate, if he fully commits, then the outcome becomes even more unsettling. Because what's left of Ryan after that? That's the real danger. Because defeating Homelander doesn't automatically make him a hero. It might just make him the next problem. And if that happens, then someone else, maybe even Butcher, will have to stop him. So when you look back at this scene, it's easy to focus on the violence, the brutality, the shock of seeing Homelander attack his own son. But that's not the real story. The real story is the decision behind it. Homelander chose power over connection, control over family, dominance over love. And in doing that, he didn't just lose Ryan. He created the one person who might destroy him. And whatever happens next started right there.